So the other day I made a video where I showed you guys a whole bunch of prototypes from Samsung that appeared to be more or less Z Fold style, again, prototypes, but as this individual was showing them to us on this table, they were getting wider and wider. The cover display was getting wider and wider. And that was enough for me to say, wow, very, very cool. I wish this was something Samsung would actually explore, whether or not it's the Z Fold 6 or like a Z Fold Ultra, like I said in the video. Give us something that's basically an S23 Ultra that opens up into a tablet would be really, really cool. Now, apparently there are more of these sort of prototypes floating around because I came across a tweet from someone who I didn't know of before. There are so many tech creators that have tons of subscribers that I've never heard of before. ASBYT, I don't know if you're meant to read that or say it. I haven't looked at their channel or anything, but they tweeted it, so I'll give them a shout out for doing this. Clearly they're doing quite well, so they probably don't need my shout out. But they tweeted this the other day. Hands-on with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 design. I don't think that's accurate necessarily. This is another prototype, another thing that they're showing to people from Samsung's R&D campus in South Korea, people that came out to that event and got to see some of these things. To say this is the Z Fold 6 design, I don't think is necessarily accurate because we just don't know that that's going to be the case at all. But I do think that it is extremely interesting and important to look at this design and to see what they are experimenting with, because it is possible that this could be a Z Fold 6 or 7 design or something like that. So the first thing we got to look at here is the fact that this device is a lot wider than the Z Fold 5 and back. And that's something that a lot of people are going to be happy about. Some people like the narrow display, and I get that, but some people don't. A lot of people in my comments don't like that at all, and this is one that is definitely a lot wider. Really nice and thin over here on the hinge side, but this is, again, not like a functional device. It's basically like a prototype dummy unit like we saw in that prior video. Let's go to the next image though, and you can see that there's sort of like a seam down at where it would open up. I don't know if it actually does open or not. They don't show it open. I'm assuming it probably doesn't. But on the bottom side, there is something absolutely fascinating. That is a silo for an S Pen. So if you're wondering if Samsung has heard the cries of the public, give us an inbuilt S Pen silo. They have definitely heard this. And with the Fold 5, the S Pen is getting much thinner, much smaller in some different ways, which could, be them trying to slim it down to make space for it inside the device. Perhaps they could go with a collapsible S Pen. Again, they've done that sort of thing before in the past, I believe. But here is a dummy unit, a prototype, with a built-in S Pen silo. Very, very cool to see. Another angle here showing that S Pen sticking out of the bottom. A very different looking camera bump. It doesn't have sort of the bump on a bump thing going on. Similar placement of the flash to the Z Fold 5. A very minimalist design, again, for a dummy unit. Not all that surprising. Now, of course, anytime we talk about making that cover display screen wider, it is a slightly more controversial subject because some people like that very narrow cover display. They like how it feels in their hand, one-handability wise. Personally, I think just because you can reach across it easily, that doesn't make it one-handable if you can't reach the top very easily, but that's just my opinion. You're free to disagree. You might like that skinny, narrow screen, and if you do, I'm happy that it exists for you, and I'm happy that we have alternatives that exist as well. Now, there's another aspect to this, though. If you make this cover display wider, you're also making the tablet display wider because it folds open. So again, this is a slightly more controversial subject. People are not going to agree on what they hope Samsung does. I do think that this prototype, if it ever does come to fruition, is striking a relatively nice balance and kind of leaning towards what everyone else is doing, making a more traditional cover display that isn't just a cover display. It is as if you have two phones. That's what I love about the Pixel Fold so much. Not to get totally diverted into the wrong thing, but to me, the Pixel Fold is like having a really great, compact flagship and a tablet, whereas the Z Fold is like having a great tablet with a cover display. And by cover display, I mean not a great phone. Something that if it was just that cover display, that was your phone, you wouldn't want to use it necessarily, or at least I certainly wouldn't want to use it. The only reason I'm happy to use it is because it opens up. I would be happy to use a phone of this exact dimension. So that to me is the difference. And it appears as though Samsung is experimenting with the design more in that vein. But again, that does lead to changes in the aspect ratio of the tablet display. Now, something that I don't think anyone at all is going to find super controversial or hard to wrap their head around or get on board with is putting the S Pen inside the device. As long as the processor is efficient enough that the fact that you're probably going to lose some battery life because just physical space constraints, as long as that stuff is taken care of, putting the S Pen in the device is something I think almost everyone is going to be on board for. Even though they've made the cases that carry the S Pen better, having it in the device is just far and away the better solution. So it'll be interesting to see going forward if this is something that we see again, if Samsung does indeed go in this direction or not. Again, shout out to ASBYT, Asbyte. I don't know how that's supposed to be read or said, but shout out to you for posting this stuff on Twitter. Link to this tweet and therefore their account in the description down below. I guess technically they're not called tweets anymore. Posts, although mine does still have the Twitter icon. Again, it was gone for a while and now it's back, so not sure what's going on there. At any rate, thanks for watching. Sound off in the comments down below. Subscribe for more content just like this. If you want to buy the Z Fold 5, there's an affiliate link in the description down below to help support the channel. Guys, I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.